Guys, it's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I haven't had a video since my playoff prediction one, which I do suggest people watch if you haven't seen it. Actually, we've already been pretty over the target. I think like 2 minutes into the video, I predicted Robert Saleh was going to get fired, and sure enough, they lose and he gets fired. And again, I'm just not being braggadocious. It's just kind of looking at the patterns. There are certain coaches you can just tell they're not going to be around for the long term. But anyway. That'll be the Jets story. We'll get into that. I wanted to go into this week's games. I was prepared to do Thursday's game this week, and I live in Florida, so we had no power for a little while. The only reason I didn't, and we actually would have got it right, again, only because I feel like not many people have that much faith in the Niners on the road right now. But anyway, I'm going to go into this week, and right off the bat, the first game I absolutely love. I got the Jags straight up here. I feel like a pick 'em in this case. I just don't see the Bears winning. They're not going to knock the Jags out of the playoff picture. The Jags are, quote, at home. This is where they're going to be playing at home, probably starting like 2026, for a long time. So, Trevor, because he plays back-to-back weeks in London, so I think that narrative of Trevor winning 2 games in London and only 1 in America is definitely going to be one that they push. So to me, it makes very little sense for the Bears to win this one. Again, I think the Packers, they're going to be around 500 all year long. So yeah, I got the Jags winning this one in London. Texas Patriots, I like the Patriots on the cover. Only because I think most people have the Texans probably blowing them out. I could even see a sneaky upset. But Texans have had a couple close finishes. They're giving CJ some game-winning drives. I think we might get something like that. Lower scoring game. Their kicker hits one at the end, something like that. So I'll take the Patriots with 6.5 here. Commanders Ravens is an interesting one, because some could argue the Commanders should, be much less of an underdog here, and I think more of the public's going to be on the Commanders, the money line. So it just comes down to the cover. And even on the cover, I think more people are going to be on the Commanders. So I got the Ravens cover in the 7. It's kind of steep. Again, the Commanders have looked pretty good this year. So I got the Ravens cover in 7. Browns, Eagles, I got the Eagles cover in 8.5. Again, very steep, especially for them. They haven't had a great year at all. And I get it to the Browns, but again, the way the Eagles have looked, I don't see many people confidently taking them, giving 8.5 points. I think it's the biggest favorite of the entire slew this weekend. So yeah, I have very little doubt the Eagles are going to cover here. So Eagles minus 8.5. Cardinals, Packers, I think the Packers have this will probably be Love's best game to date, I have a feeling. For no other reason than he kind of needs it, because soon he's going to be playing division rivals. You got to build Love versus Caleb, all these different matchups. And I think 200 for the Cardinals just looks way too good to be true. And even 5.5 points, so I expect both of those lines to be on quite a few parlays, more so the money line than anything. So sure, we could get a close no cover, but of the games being played this weekend, it's also one I don't see a ton of money on. So those games I do tend to lean to the narratives, and I think the narrative is Love is just a little more over, and maybe not more than Kyler, but you throw in the fact that nobody watches the Cardinals, and the Packers have a little more of a draw factor here, so getting them to 4-2 makes sense to me. Again, I think they're going to be right around, 500 all year long. So they probably I think they match up with the Bears in Week 9 for the first time. And at that point, I imagine they'll be like 1 game apart. So that might also be a little bit of like a foreshadow, let us know. We probably know one team's not going to fall 2 games behind the other team. So anyway, Bucs Saints, here's an interesting one. Saints came out looking really good, and then kind of fizzled out, whereas the Bucs have just been kind of consistent. They had a good game against the Lions, good game against the Eagles. I like the Saints here, and I like them straight up. I think we just even this division up at 3-3. I think the Falcons are 3-2. I could be wrong, but yeah, I got the Saints straight up. Colts Titans. I'm going to take Titans minus 2.5. I just think Pittman's out now. Richardson, sure, you might want to give him a little bit of a push, but again, you're working on a lot of other rookies that you're giving pushes to, and second-year pros, so I don't think Richardson's that much of a priority right now. and I just don't agree with the line. I really think if you look on paper, the Titans, maybe next to the Broncos, who are surprising people, probably have the worst team in football on paper. So that's not everything, but there's just no way they do anything with this team. Whereas the Colts, just like last year, I feel like they can at least keep them in contention. That way, towards the end of the year, when they play the Texans again, when they play the Jags, there's a little bit of stake to it. So I like I do like the Titans to cover here. Like I said, the Colts, they'll both be 2-4, but the division's not great outside of the Texans, of course. So I think down the road the Colts will get some wins, but this one doesn't make any sense to me. So Titans -2.5. I'm going to take the Chargers on the cover here. Same logic as when they played the Panthers and they were only giving up 3. Yes, more of the public is probably on the Chargers. I get that, but again, it's one of those games. I call it a narrative game or like an establishment game. There's not going to be enough people, in my opinion, betting on this game for either team to really be a liability. So you could establish Harbaugh. There's no way down the road it's going to be Broncos Chiefs on prime time. And again, the Chiefs are undefeated, so they might not even be in the discussion. But whether it's the two teams fighting for a wild card in week 16, week 17, the Broncos are not going to be taking up that slot. It's obviously going to be the Chargers, so they just can't fall too far behind. I think the Broncos probably go on a pretty big losing streak, if I'm being honest. So while the line's a little trappy, I still like the Chargers -3 here. Steelers, Raiders, same kind of deal. Only this time I am going to go with the Raiders. I'm going to take them with the 3 points, though. Just because I can totally see this being a 1 or 2 point or a 3 point game. So I'll take the 3 points. And it's kind of the same logic, I think this one's also kind of trappish too. The Steelers, it's weird, they've been basically a pick 'em every game this year, no matter who they've played, from the Falcons to the Cowboys. So it's kind of weird, but that's just kind of how Vegas has the lines with them, I guess. So I like the Raiders +3. I think more people are going to be on the Steelers on both of these games, by the way. This Chargers game and this Raiders game, really low over/under. Makes me think that they're probably both going to go under. Just my gut. Typically when you see a couple on like the low to mid 30s, they wind up scoring like 19 points. So both of them look unders to me. Lions, Cowboys here. I like the Cowboys straight up, to be honest. Again, I think probably even action if you look at where the public's going to be. Cowboys are my Super Bowl pick, and I think they can't fall too far behind. I don't think they're getting in as like a 7 seed. I think they're going to get in as a pretty, middle of the road seed. Lions, again, it keeps the division nice and close with the Lions, Packers, and, Vikings and Bears. So, yeah, I like the Cowboys here for the upset. Falcons, Panthers here. I do like the Falcons for the cover. Again, I don't think they've established themselves that much. They've been pretty good. I do have them winning the division if you, again, watch my playoff video. But 6 points, again, it's kind of heavy. Typically, these teams would be getting like a pick 'em, especially in Carolina. So I think, again, we might see Kirk Cousins come out and do some pretty big things, Bijan Robinson, etc. So I like the Falcons here for the cover. And then here we got Bengals, Giants. This one's a tough one because I immediately saw the line and wanted to go Giants. But I just don't think they're going to knock the Bengals to 1-5. Sure, they could still make a run. I actually have them making the playoffs. Again, that's all in my last video. But for the narrative, I'm going to take the Bengals -3.5 here. And I get the line looks like a trap. They might win by a couple points and not cover. But I just really think the Bengals are going to win this game, get Burrow looking good on prime time, and kind of get the playoff narrative started. They did this a couple years ago. And I think they went all the way to the Super Bowl that year. So, yeah, I got the Bengals covering the 3.5 just for the narrative purposes, while I do acknowledge the line's a little trappish, so I'm not going to be putting the farm on it. But I do like it. And, yeah, that's all for tomorrow. That'll leave us Bills and Jets, and we got power, so I'll definitely have an opportunity to get Monday out. My favorite pick is probably the Jags, to be honest. I just do not see Trevor losing, quote, at home here. And I think people are probably buying into the Caleb fever. Again, I don't think they're going to do anything crazy with the Bears. I think they'll be a 9-8, 10-7, and they should make the wild card because it makes it more entertaining. But I don't think they're going to be looking outstanding, and I don't think the way their defense has looked and the way Caleb's looking, I imagine more people might even be on Chicago. I could be wrong, but love the Jags here. And yeah, there's a few others like that I think are pretty strong picks. Chargers for the narrative, like I said. Cowboys I like here. You're getting good value. So we'll see what happens, but I think we'll have another good week. Take care and happy earnings.